Did you know that a 7-year-old boy from a small Kentucky town once predicted 37 deaths before his 8th birthday, including the exact date and circumstances of his own parents' final moments, and that his predictions didn't stop even after he stopped speaking about them publicly? His name was Caleb Pierce, and he lived in Eden Falls, Kentucky, a quiet farming community with a population of just over 1,200 people who all knew each other by name and waved to each other on Main Street every single day. In early 2003, when Caleb was still just a normal little boy who loved drawing dinosaurs and playing in the backyard with the family dog, he started having dreams that his mother initially dismissed as nothing more than the vivid imagination of a child who watched too much television before bed. Then Caleb told her about a red truck he had seen in his dream. A red truck on Miller's Road with a crack in the windshield, and a license plate he recited perfectly. And he described the driver wearing a flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up and a coffee cup in his hand. 3 days later, a man named Roy Benson lost control of his red truck on that exact stretch of Miller's Road and did not survive the crash. And when authorities arrived, they found the crack in the windshield, the flannel shirt, and the coffee cup exactly as Caleb had described them. The town grew very quiet after that, and parents started keeping their children just a little closer. But Caleb kept dreaming, and the dreams kept coming true. In March of that same year, Caleb told his teacher during show and tell that a house on Maple Street would catch fire before the end of the month. And he named the family who lived there the Thompsons, who had 3 children and a golden retriever named Gus. On March 29th, the Thompson house burned in an electrical fire that started in the kitchen. The family escaped through the windows, but Gus, the golden retriever, did not make it out alive. And Caleb had described Gus right down to the color of his collar. By the time summer arrived, people in Eden Falls had started crossing to the other side of the street when they saw Caleb coming. Not out of cruelty, but out of fear. Fear of what he might see when he looked at them. Fear of what he might say without meaning any harm at all. He predicted a drowning at the county fair when a teenage boy slipped under the water in the swimming hole and never came back up. And he described the boy's bathing suit and the exact spot where they would find his body 3 days later. He predicted a car accident involving a honeymoon couple from out of town who were driving through Eden Falls on their way to Nashville. And 3 days later, that couple's vehicle was found wrapped around a tree on the very curve Caleb had drawn on a piece of notebook paper. He predicted the heart attack that would take the town's oldest grocer, a man named Mr. Henderson who had run the corner store for 50 years and who died at his register on a Tuesday afternoon, just like Caleb said he would. Every single prediction came true exactly as the 7-year-old boy described them, and the town didn't know whether to treat him like a prophet or a curse. In September, Caleb stopped sleeping entirely and told his mother that the whispers he heard in his dreams were getting louder and that they wouldn't let him rest anymore. He started drawing the same image over and over again on every piece of paper he could find. A water tower, a crowd of people gathered beneath it, and a date written in careful block letters. October 12th. When his mother asked what happens on October 12th, Caleb looked at her with eyes that seemed too old and too tired and said everyone will be there. Everyone in town. And something happens to the tower, but the whisper stops before it tells me what. October 12th was the date of the Eden Falls Harvest Festival, an annual tradition that brought the entire town together in the square, directly beneath the town's aging water tower for food and music and games and celebration. The mayor considered canceling the event after hearing about Caleb's prediction, but without any specific threat to point to, without any official warning from authorities. He decided to let the festival go on as planned, because canceling it would mean admitting that a 7-year-old boy might know something the adults didn't. On the morning of October 12th, Caleb refused to leave his room and told his mother that he couldn't go to the festival because if he was there, he would see it happen, and he didn't want to see it happen. He didn't want to watch. Around noon, the festival was in full swing with families filling the square and children playing games on the grass directly beneath the water tower that had stood there since the 1950s, without any issue at all. Without any warning, the support beam on the water tower gave way, a single piece of metal that had held for decades suddenly failing, and the entire structure collapsed into the crowd below in a matter of seconds. 23 people lost their lives that afternoon, including Caleb's own parents who had gone to the festival, despite their son's refusal to attend because they wanted to support the community they loved. When authorities found Caleb at home, he was sitting on his bedroom floor surrounded by his drawings, every single one showing the water tower and the crowd and the date. But the last drawing had a new detail he had added that morning. A small figure standing alone in a window watching the scene below, and beneath it he had written 4 words in his careful child's handwriting. I told them. They didn't listen. The whispers stopped completely after that day, and Caleb never made another prediction for as long as he remained in Eden Falls, which wasn't long because he was sent to live with an aunt in another state where no one knew his name or his story. The town of Eden Falls never held another harvest festival. The square where the water tower stood was turned into a small park with a memorial bench, but no mention of what happened there, and the people who lived through that day learned to stop talking about it entirely. Caleb Pierce is 31 years old now and lives a quiet life, far from Kentucky, working a normal job and keeping to himself. But a few years ago, a reporter tracked him down and asked if he ever heard the whispers anymore. Caleb didn't answer at first, but then he said sometimes, just one word over and over again. And when the reporter asked what word that was, Caleb looked past her toward a calendar hanging on the wall and said soon. Before the reporter left, Caleb handed her a folded piece of paper and told her not to open it until she got home. And when she did, she found a drawing of a water tower she didn't recognize in a crowd of people gathered beneath it, and a date written in block letters that hasn't come to pass yet. The date is next year, and the town in the drawing, the town with the water tower and the crowd and the date that hasn't arrived, is hers.